We are going grumpy today. Grumpy women specifically get such a bad rap. So, this one goes out to the grumpy women out there. The patriarchy tells you to smile more and be softer. I say lean into those hard edges. All right, so I write about grumpy women a lot because I write a lot of grumpy women. All right, so I did this like three times in a row and I didn't really think about it. Like, I didn't do it on purpose. Jenny in the right time has been described as a bit of a black cat. She's not, I don't think that she's like super grumpy, but she definitely is a little under a lot, well, she's under a lot of pressure, right? She wants to do a good job. She wants to be a good teacher. She wants to fall in love. She wants to have babies. She wants like this and this and this and this. So she's got these constant expectations that she's set out for herself and that her mom has set out for her that she feels like she needs to live up to. Ben is this like sunshine golden retriever just sitting at her feet and just waiting until she realizes that, he can help her be this way and be the way that she wants. And so that's, I think, their dynamic. This is the first time I wrote a dynamic like that. It was only my second book, but I didn't make her grumpy on purpose. I just made her what I thought was realistic. Okay. Katie, and the right choice is definitely grumpy, and I set out to write her as a grumpy main character. Like, she is cranky that she has to do all the housework. She's cranky that she has to be home by herself all the time. She's cranky that her husband has to work all the time because he doesn't actually have to work all the time. That's a choice that he's making. A choice, get it? And she just wants him to be home. She wants to have this family life that she thought she was going to have. Their kids are 7 and 2, and so that's a age gap that I'm familiar with. My kids also have a 5 year age gap. And so it can be really difficult when you're trying to entertain one, but you also have to focus on the other. And it's like nicer just to have both parents there sometimes if you can, and they can. And so she really wants him to be home. She wants to find her passion again. She wants to do something that's not just being a mom. And so that makes her cranky. And there is actually a scene in here where Brandon calls her a grump and she's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Well, I'm a ray of sunshine. So by comparison, you're grumpy." And she's like, "Yeah, it's easy to be a ray of sunshine when the world is at your feet." So again, I think this is really realistic, but she is grumpier, I think, than maybe any of my other main characters. And then in Common Grounds, Emery is a black cat character and Trevor is a total golden retriever. And Emery is cranky because she was laid off, she got divorced, her ex-husband cheated on her, and he's a total jerk. And really, like, she's estranged from her parents because they didn't agree with some of her life choices, like getting divorced. And they thought that she was, a failure for getting laid off. And Trevor is this golden retriever, eternal optimist. I am, gonna work so hard to get this coffee shop back where it was when my grandfather owned it, and it's just really important for me and my family. And I'm gonna do it. And also, like, I'm gonna love Emery and make her happy, right? So again, things that I thought were really realistic for Emery's situation, but it did definitely make her into a kind of black cat, grumpy woman stereotype. So I don't know, right? Like, these characters just call to me, I guess. Okay. I've written these three books with these female main characters who toe that grumpy line. But to be honest with you, I love them so much. So when I first saw Jenny in the right time described as a grump, I thought, like, is she? Like, because they described it as grumpy sunshine, and I was like, oh no, I don't think I would put that name on it, but like, that's fine. I mean, she's not grumpy in the right place when she's Mac's best friend, but she just kept getting a bunch of punches thrown her way, right? And Ben was a total simp for her. And like, his joy eventually does become hers. And I think that's what part of the beautiful story of the right time is. So Katie, like, describes herself as grumpy, like I said. I think actually the word she uses is grouchy, but it's the same thing, right? And Next to Brandon, who is a ray of sunshine, she is totally grumpy. So I think there's some of that like comparison too, right? And who can blame her? She grew up without a lot of money. Her parents had to work all the time and died very young. She didn't have a ton of adult role model friends, and she slipped into some pretty serious substance abuse. So her babies and her husband made her happy for a while, but the stress of life caught up with her eventually, and she had to figure out some stuff before she could feel happy again. And for Emery, right, she is grumpy mostly because she's stuck in a rut. She's writing these happy go lucky lifestyle pieces for a local web magazine and she hates it. She'd much rather be writing something serious and what she thinks is important, right? And next to the unfailing optimism of Trevor, she definitely looks grumpy as well. To be totally honest with you, I almost didn't finish writing Common Grounds for this exact reason. Three grumpy women and sunshine men in a row. Ugh. Am I right? Allie, like branch out or something. Okay, like I can, and my next two were totally different, and my next one is going to be absolutely more different than that too. But like, there's just something about the grumpy girls that calls to me. First off, and like if you've been around for a while, you know this. I am a grump. Like I'm proud about it, right? Like I'm a grump. I mean, I have more layers than this, but I do tend to see the negative in a lot of situations. And in my defense, a lot of situations right now are negative. And yet, that's kind of my point, right? Women aren't born grumpy, we're made grumpy. How anyone maintains a sunshine personality that's more than just an outward facade in this day and age is beyond me. I actually love showing this in my female characters, right? They're not just randomly grumpy. In fact, like I wouldn't call them grumpy at all. They're hardened by the circumstances life has thrown at them. For Jenny, it was her mother treating her like nothing was ever good enough, an emotionally abusive ex, and the death of a close friend. For Katie, it was her upbringing, her slowly deteriorating marriage, and her isolation. For Emery, it's being laid off from a job she loved, getting divorced, and her parents' rejection, all in a short span of time. So, secondly, grumpy women are only deemed grumpy because the patriarchy says women should behave a certain way, right? We all know how women are asked, LOL, JK, told to smile all the time. And when we don't, we're seen as grumpy, bitchy, unlikable, or are told that we rub people the wrong way. True story. This has happened to me a lot. Are my leading ladies grumpy? Am I truly grumpy? Like, I honestly would say no. We have reasonable reactions to the scenarios we've been put through. And when you put us next to a sunshine man who has had the privilege of never once being told he should smile more, we look angry by comparison. The grumpy sunshine trope where the guy is the grump is a popular one. And like, don't get me wrong, I love it. I love it. I love it. To be able to watch him soften up for her is like mwah, solid. I love it. But my ladies don't soften for their men. They learn to trust that their men aren't going to try to fundamentally change them. Ben, Brandon, and Trevor love their grumpy girls for who they are. They actually love the prickly side of these women. And yeah, sure, they enjoy the smiles more because they're fewer and farther between, because a hard fought battle is always more rewarding. But they don't want or expect the women they love to change themselves. They just let them be. And that, my friends, is the best kind of love story. No one needs to be fixed. They're simply loved for who they are. So I write these stories for the grumpy women so you can feel seen. There are people out there who love you just the way you are, who will never tell you to smile. You deserve a happily ever after too, and it's my mission to give it to you. So I'm interested. What are some of your favorite stories with grumpy women main characters? Tell me in the comments.